started, even though we're missing a couple of people. It's a couple of minutes after 3. And so, Mel, will you do the invocation, please?
Before I jump into that, Jim, pay attention because you're going to be doing this before too, well, maybe before.
Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe. All right, maybe we'll pray.
There's all kinds of volunteers out here.
Dear Lord, we come to you again, thanking you for protecting our village from the COVID for another month and all of our loved ones. May you continue to bless us and protect us from this dreaded disease. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Mel. Can one of you volunteer to take minutes? Larry, for some reason, is not here. I haven't heard from him. Barbara, thank you. Thank you very much. And I want to say, Barbara, I want to say the message of to your area, people in your area, the comments you made was very appropriate in answers to one of the questions, but I forgot what the question was. But anyway, you said it to me and I thought it was very appropriate. Okay, roll call. 1, 2, 3. Donna, you 3?
4.
You're 4. 5. Here. 6. 7.
Here.
8. 9.
Here.
10.
Here.
11.
Here.
12. Do we have a 12? 13.
Here.
Great. 14.
Here.
15.
Here.
16.
Here.
17.
Here.
18. 19. 20.
Here.
21.
Here.
22. 23.
Here.
24.
Here.
25.
Here.
26.
Here.
27.
Here.
28.
No.
One day maybe. Thank you. Suzanne, Treasury report.
Every time I move, I think of that Abbott Costello movie where he says, slowly I turn. Okay, can everybody hear me?
We step on the coast.
How's that? Good. Okay, we decided to donate $300 for the fire evacuees to the Salvation Army of $300. And our ending balance at that time then was $610.34. The Mennonite Village gave us their $200 donation of $200, which is a quarterly payment, so it's our last $200 for the year. And we have a balance of $810.34 in the checking account. And if you have any questions, ask Ray. No, I'll answer.
Any questions? Thank you. And coming up pretty soon will be the Christmas, helping out employees on the Christmas stuff. Okay, Craig. Oh,
Yeah.
Committee reports. None. I don't think we have any committees. Craig, where are you?
Right here.
Over here.
You want me to use this?
Sure, please.
Okay.
This is weird doing it with my back to you, but okay. It's all right. So, current census right now in the village, we have 7 homes that are being refurbished right now. 5 of those are reserved. We have 2 homes under new construction currently, and both of those are reserved. And the Ashwood 2 apartments, we have 2 studios, and we have 2 that are 1 bedroom plus a den that are available, and there's no waiting list. So the Ashwood 2 apartments, we have 4 of them available. Right now in the village, we're at 97% occupancy. We have 2 village homes that are available, that are empty. I thought in addition to the census, I'd give you a few numbers that you might be interested in, especially right now with COVID going on. I know people have been kind of interested with what we've been able to do as far as marketing and tours and things like that. So this year, this is through September, we've actually conducted 121 tours of the village. We've had 41 applications that have been approved to independent living, and we currently have 65 people on the active wait list. Right now, through September, we've had 27 move-ins to village homes and duplexes. Time out. Yes, this is better. Okay. And I'm right at the end though. Okay. So far through September, we've had 27 move-ins to village homes, duplexes, and apartments this year. That represents 44 new residents in the village this year. That's quite a few, and it's been tough for them, as you can imagine. They just moved into the village and COVID hits. So getting integrated, getting involved in things, and some of you, I'm sure, area reps have seen that and have done a great job stepping up and making those connections, so we really appreciate that. As far as move-outs are concerned, we had 11 move-outs this year so far from the village, and we had 9 transfers from village homes to higher levels of care, so about 20. So we're a little ahead on our move-ins from last year, and we've actually had fewer move-outs than we did last year. So all in all, we've really been pretty blessed for going through this COVID time to have the village pretty full. So, any questions? Good, thanks.
Yes, do you have that? Do you have that paper form?
I do.
I'll take it easy. I hope you remember all.
And who was the area rep that just showed up over there now?
What do you want to know?
What area are you from?
Oh, 12.
12, thank you. Thank you, Craig, who's,
I have a question.
Yes.
Craig, who's taking Marv's place?
Marv, that would be one for Dave.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a secret?
I don't know, has it been filled?
Independent living administrators next.
Okay, so a lot of questions have come up about.
Closer, please.
Closer. Pull it down.
I have a low altitude. Oh, thank you.
That's low enough, thank you.
You might keep your mask down.
So, is that okay? Okay. So a lot of questions have come up this last month, especially about the pets on campus and our pet policy. So if you don't have a pet policy, you could certainly ask for one. I did not go ahead and just make a bunch of copies. But I'd be happy to share with you if you'd like to have one. So it's actually 4 pages, and I'm not going to go over all of it, but to hit the hot spots that came up. So requirements of pets on, so let me just tell you the policy, the purpose reads, independent living residents at Mennonite Village who comply with the organization's pet policy may own and or keep a common household pet in their dwelling unit. With appropriate documentation, a resident may keep an assistance animal, otherwise known as a service or a companion animal, that mitigates the impact of a disability. The policy reads, animals are allowed at Mennonite Village upon prior approval from management, and all animals are subject to the following rules and guidelines. all of Mennonite Village's rules and guidelines related to animals on our campus are in compliance with the City of Albany and Lynn County regulations. And some exemptions to these rules are made for assistant animals. And those are identified within this policy. So requirements, there are 5 things listed in the policy. So prior notification of having an animal, a pet, a veterinarian certificate of good health needs to be in your file. The animal needs to be licensed as required by the City of Albany or Lynn County. We need to have a photo of the pet, the completed animal data sheet, and the signed pet assistant animal agreement. Part of the policy is about sanitation. So dogs are required to be housebroken, cats must be litter box trained. Animal owners shall be responsible for the immediate cleanup after the exercise of the animal. The other part reads about leashes and safety. Dogs and cats shall be on handheld leashes at all times outside the confines of the pet owner's home and while on the property of Mennonite Village, except in the designated dog run. So, and then short leash length is to be used when exercising animals in crowded areas or where there is vehicle traffic. Long lines and retractable leashes allow pets to wander in front of vehicles and create safety issues for persons walking or the vehicles driving. So the designated dog run, I've asked a few times about that and I'm getting this answer and that answer, so I took a walk for myself. And maybe have been posted in years past. I did not see a designated dog run. I know the area of the fence area, but there's no sign that says designated dog run. There's no sign or posting anywhere that indicates that that's a dog area. So work to be done on that. And I do have some suggestions about areas of concern, which are the deck area and the sidewalk around the lake, which some understand to believe to be an off-leash area because all of that is within the confines of that fence. So work to be done on that policy and that piece of it. Bernadette asked me to share for you the Wellness Center. There was a posting that went out. I'm not sure exactly how it went out, except that maybe it was in the update as well as the emails. And the aquatic center is going to be open starting on Wednesday this week. It's by appointments only. Reservations are required. There's a whole page of information that she has here, but basically the morning times are going to be allowed to be scheduled as well as the afternoon times, and there's different state requirements that they're following on that. But good news that we're trying to get that pool open for you. The other thing that Bernadette asked me to share is this parking lot bingo that's been advertised. It came out in the update. The Albany Parks and Recreation area department, whatever, they're putting it on. It's being provided by Albany Parks and Rec, not by Mennonite Village. So they sent out this flyer, and a very important piece of the flyer was cut off in the update where it says reservations are required, and if there's not enough reservations, then it's going to be canceled. I just got off the phone with Bernadette, and she said so far she's told that there's one reservation. So if you are interested in parking lot bingo on Wednesday this week, or anybody that you know of, please call the number it's here in the update. It's the little blue circle here that's kind of hard to see. Or if you have the email today or Friday, that has the phone number to make reservations. Otherwise, it's going to be canceled. Our wellness team is not set up to post it right now. So, put out the word on that. The other one small thing that I just wanted to tag on to today was that, just a reminder about the drop box for the ballots coming up. So one person requested, is it possible to have a voter's ballot drop box on our campus? And it was actually quite easy to acquire, so we're going to have the drop box located right inside the front door on the west entrance. The main receptionist by the chapel, where Ilana sits. So we'll have a drop box there. It's going to come out on the 13th.
Yeah, the ballots come out.
The boxes will go to the locations on the 13th. So then the ballots are mailed on the 14th. So if you are a quick voter, you can just drop it right off on the 14th. You just come in, put your ballot in, and walk out. Just please make sure you have a mask. It's going to be there through the duration of Election Day. And the ballot drop box is not a public location, so it's not going to be announced by the county. It's only for Mennonite Village, and it's for staff and residents as well, to make it convenient.
But you can still mail.
Oh, you can still mail, of course. Of course.
So that's just during their business hours, and otherwise the door is locked.
Otherwise, the door's locked, so 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday, correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Our facilities director, Dave Detweiler.
Okay, question about the Mennonite Village property line versus the county line. That's related to Freeway Lakes Parks along our south boundary. The Mennonite Village property line, if you go down Columbus, the entrance to the church, right on the south side of that 5 feet is a fence line, and that line goes straight all the way back to the freeway. And that's the Mennonite Village property line. Out at the lake, there's an old fence line in the trees there on the north side of the lake, and that's the property line between Mennonite Village and the county park. So at some point, the property line is 15 to 20 feet from the water. When you get over the freeway, it's more like 70 feet from our property line to the water. But the county does have a 15-foot easement above the high water line all the way around the lake. So even those residents on the south side of the lake, and they mow right down to the water's edge, the county has a 15-foot easement along that water line. So it's not really marked out other than that fence line on the end of our field here, but through the woods, through the open space there, it's not. Striping, contractor were here late last week, repainting the stop bars and the stops and around mailboxes and crosswalks. Every year we usually upgrade some parking areas, parking lines as well. They were out, we got the stop bars and the 47th entry, we replaced some of that concrete. So they got those turn lane and markers along there as well. The banner sign, we put up a banner out at the end of Karen Loop. Now that states that it's private property, no trespassing, nobody but residents and staff beyond this point. We've gotten the second one that we're also putting on the end of 47th here as well. been concerned about people driving up off the end of the roads. We have signs posted on this, and we have cones out at the Kestrel and where I meet 47, so that you can't go beyond that point unless you move the cones. So that's in place now. Garden cleanup, getting close to the end of gardening season, and as gardeners clean up, if they pile their corn stalks and their vines and things off the garden area, in the lawn area, you can recycle what's recyclable, but a number of these things don't break down very well, and the Browns will clean those up and get them to our compost pile. Street trimming. So when you drive down 47th here, a moving van can't hardly even go down the center of the street without hitting branches and things. So we're going to be trimming up so that moving vans, at least if they're in the center of the street, aren't breaking branches and hitting tree limbs. So the Browns will be doing that. I told them everybody needs to have a 15-foot stick and be able to hold that from the tree to where it cut line, because often those vans are 14.6, 14.8. So they're going to be trimming trees in the streets. The wildfire ash, there was quite a bit of it during that time. They put out some notices before about rinsing it off. Don't use a rag, or because it's abrasive and it can scratch, especially on your automotive finishes. So, if you haven't already, it's a good idea to rinse down your window screens and your tracks on the bottom of the window. That's where the most collects. And if you haven't already, your patios and your driveways. And suggesting that area groups help each other out. Some people can't do it. Maybe there's somebody in the area that can help them out with that. Hopefully we're done with that. Question came up about Marvin. Marvin's a resident, village resident now. His first home back here on the left. He's still volunteering some, but his work as far as the countertops is going to have to be hired out at this point. We've slowed down a little bit. I mean, Craig gave a report when occupancy is really high. Renovations have slowed down some. We do have requests in the budget to hire Marvin's replacement, but that's been put on hold right now because of some budget constraints. So we have to hire out the Formica part. We do have Adam, who is out there working with Kent on the refurbs as far as doing what we call the grunt work. Marvin's still around, and he's doing some favors and still doing some of the recycling of copper wire and copper water lines and such. He wants to stay busy. Rodents. Grounds continues to put out traps and bait. If you see them, call and work order, or make sure they have some out in that area. We're not seeing and hearing about as many sightings as we were earlier this summer. And then the open space camp. There was a camp in the open space zone, and we had the community policing officers send some people out to check it out. They have to post it and give the person or persons a 24-hour notice to clear their stuff up and get out, or they can go in and clean up. It so happened they came out on a Thursday, so we had to give them Friday, and then it was the weekend, and then Mervyn was on the bus on Monday, so it was still that following Tuesday till the crew did go out and clean up the encampment. It was a location where there was one last year, so it was a repeat location. We are talking about administratively, how do we police this? How do we keep this from happening? Mervin does ride through there on his four-wheeler at least monthly to see if there's any activity going on there. Because we want to harass them. We want to get them out of here as soon as we know about it, so that they let each other know that, hey, don't bother going out there to Mennonite Village in the woods, because they'll track you down and they'll clean up your stuff. And so we want to, so if you see them or hear about them, please let us know, and we'll get it taken care of. And then there was a question about night security person. Yes, we still do have night security. We have night custodian 7 days a week, and they make at least 2 rounds out through campus, and they respond to any of the smoke alarms or calls, night calls from village units. So they are out and about there, driving around and just checking things out for anything suspicious. Okay?
Any questions? I have one. About 6 months ago, and then again a couple months ago, you had said that if there's suspicious activity, to report it to the police. Now, if they call you, you may not be in your office, and you may not respond for 6-8 hours. So, area reps, if you'll let I presume if you'll let your people to call directly to the police department and not to the administration or someone. And don't call 911, but call the other one, the other phone number, and it is in your updates, the phone number. Is that accurate?
Correct. And I will give a little update. I think Sue was going to send out an email earlier. The civil engineer is starting work on the Lakeview property out back, and one of the things, first thing they're doing is doing a topography mapping of the piece. So they will be coming in here and driving up over into the field, and they're going to bring an ATV so they can drive around on the field. Most of that work is done now by satellite, so they can just take a receiver and set it on the ground, and the satellite will give them the location and the elevation and map it. And so they just need to drive around and hold this receiver, and they can map the entire field as far as the elevation. So they will be out there. They have trucks that have K&D, but they're also, like I said, they're going to be bringing an ATV and riding around out there in the field doing this work over the next. I don't know exactly when, but he told me today he was gearing up to get started on that.
Any other questions for Dave? Thank you, Dave.
I do.
Oh, over there.
On the striking,
Microphone.
on 9B striking, we have friends that live across the way on 48th Street. So what lane should we use if we're going to go straight? Because one is a left turn and one is a right turn. Which one do we use for going straight?
So at the 47th entrance here, if you were going straight across, I would use the right-hand lane. The center lane is for that left turn. And somebody coming from the other side, if they see somebody in the center, they're going to turn. So if I was going straight across, I would use the right hand lane.
That was a good question. Thank you, Dave. Any other questions? Okay, any old business? Seeing none, any new business? We have one, the nominating committee met, and we've been scouring the village for well-qualified people to run for vice president and for secretary and for treasurer. Well, the nominating committee has come up with, for vice president, Jim Thigpen, who is an area rep now, Brent Coop for secretary, and our present treasurer, Suzanne. So anyway, if you, nominations will be open, and in fact, they're open now, and then they'll be open again in November when the election is. So if you are talking with someone about running for an office, make sure you ask them before you nominate them, because it's important that, well, we've been, the nominating committee was given some names. They would have been well qualified, but they decided no. But the people that were giving us the names hadn't talked to them ahead of time. So in November, please, if you've got nominations for vice president, secretary, or treasurer, please bring them forward at that time. Now, I would imagine that being November 2nd, that we might not be meeting here. It might be virtual, so we'll see what happens that way. Okay. Any other new business? Yes.
So are nominations open now? So if people want to nominate somebody, they can nominate somebody today?
Yes. The nominations are open for vice president. Nominations are open for vice president. Nominations are open for vice president. Hearing no other nominations, in November, I'll repeat the same thing. For secretary, nominations open for secretary. Nominations open for secretary. Nominations open for secretary. Hearing none, in November, I'll open it up again for nominations. For treasurer, nominations are open for treasurer. Nominations are open for treasurer. Nominations are open for treasurer. Hearing none, we'll bring up nominations again in November. Any other new business? Okay, area reps, it's your turn for questions and concerns. Yes.
I would ask that we consider using the Lakeside Center for our November meeting, doing the proper spacing and not having a public looking in as they do before COVID. In other words, just the reps and officers. I'd like that to be considered, please. Thank you.
That's a good idea. Did you hear what was said, Sue? Okay, any other questions or concerns? Yes.
about the algae. And
Just a moment. Chief, let's go to order.
some of my neighbors overlook the lake, and they're very concerned about the algae that is collected there this summer. Would like to have some kind of resolution to this. Someone mentioned that there has been spraying in the past that did not harm the fish, so there must be some options as to how this might happen. Thank you.
Did you hear what she said? The
algae on the lake.
algae on the lake.
Another question. We were talking about the lakes here. What is that area called?
The lakes out back,
Uh-huh.
They're called-
Lakeside, you said the lake where they're going to be doing the aerial,
The freeway lanes.
they're called freeway lakes.
Okay, but you also use the term lakeside.
We call the property, the land there, the Lakeview property.
Lake View. Okay, thank you.
So the algae on the lake, that lake is only 7 feet deep at its deepest, and it's not unusual for us to get the algae in the summer with the summer sun. We do have some chemicals that we can treat it with, but actually the board of overseers met there last Thursday, and one of the board members was talking about getting some of his friends together and coming in with rowboats and buckets and cleaning it up. So I don't know if they'll do that or not. I need to check with him to see if they're going to do that. Now this is different than the duckweed that we had on there 2 springs ago. That duckweed grew so fast it covered the entire water body, and it was probably 10 or 12 inches deep. Fortunately, we didn't have that this last year, but that we had to pull off and spray to get that eradicated. The best thing we can do for that is the water agitation. So that was one of the things we tried to get going early this spring was the fountain in there and the refilling nozzles that we use to keep that water stirred up so that duckweed doesn't stop the algae. So it'll either be some of it removed or we will treat it.
Okay, would you like some extra help with the removal?
Can you row a boat?
Probably, depending on its size.
We'll see. I don't know about that. I think I'd leave it up to them and, and their boats. There is some risk there. We don't want to take on more than we need to.
Any other questions? Any other concerns from your area? Oh, yes.
This isn't a question, it's just, or a concern, it's a question about electing new area reps. I thought that was supposed to be in this month. And that
Yes,
should be-
you were to have turned in to Jennifer the results of your elections. And if you didn't have the area elections, please tell her who it's going to be. You might have to do it again, like Shirley is going to do it again, unfortunately, she says. But anyway, did that answer your question?
We were supposed to have them from our area this month to be voted on next month, right?
Your area votes on it.
Right.
We as a council do not vote on it, as far as I understand. The area is responsible for the representative and assistant representative.
So does the area have their own rules of timing on election, or are there rules of the whole council overseeing the area?
Section 3 of our bylaws.
I didn't quite get that.
Well,
Section
Bridget has an
3,
answer on it.
Section 3 of our bylaws speaks to that.
Thank you. Section 3 covers it under the bylaws. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, grab some coffee or your cookie and socialize. The meeting is adjourned until Monday, November 2nd at 3 o'clock.